I'd like to ask about the grooming gangs in Greater Manchester. So several inquiries across the UK have found that the fear of being labelled as racist or other titles have led to failures to act on predominantly Pakistani Muslim grooming gangs targeting predominantly white girls. Can you promise us all now that you believe that you will put the safety of our young women and girls before the fear of upsetting people? Because the Labour government that you were a part of up until 2010 appeared to put our girls last. And in areas such as Rochdale, Oldham, and even Tameside.
Okay, well, that's a really serious question, and I'm not, again, going to do anything other than answer it very, very directly. So it needs an answer. But I can give you a very clear answer in terms of what I have done. And it's actually an opportunity for me to speak very personally, because I get attacked online about these issues, and I want kind of you to have an answer tonight. I want this audience to have an answer, and I hope some of it might get out into the wider Greater Manchester world and wider world. I was elected in May 2017. This was even before what happened at the Manchester Arena. The programme, Three Girls, and the documentary Betrayed Girls was aired literally within a day or two of me taking office. I think actually on the day I took office, about Monday the 8th of May, something like that. I had been Shadow Home Secretary before I left Westminster, and I had dealt directly with Rotherham issues in that context. So I knew, a lot about the issue. And I heard Maggie Oliver speak, I didn't know her at the time, speaking for the first time on Radio 5 Live, commenting on those programmes that had been on the TV about Rochdale particularly, saying that she had been part of an investigation that had been closed down overnight and just, shut down. So I know this isn't what people say, but I'm not the politician who hears something like that and says, well, nothing to see here. I commissioned the largest inquiry, the longest running inquiry into child sexual exploitation, or let's say into the activities of grooming gangs that this country has seen. And that was established at that time, but it got going in 2018. And the people we brought in to do it were the Rotherham review team, the people who were recognised as rigorous when it comes to this issue. It had three components at the start: an investigation into Manchester and what Maggie Oliver had said about what was called Operation Augusta, which was closed down in 2005. It had a second stage, which was going to look at Rochdale and the issues well known there that were the subject of those television programmes. And then it was to have a third stage to say, learning all of the lessons of all of that, are we able to assure the public of Greater Manchester that things have been done now to, make sure that there is never a sense that we look at everything that was done and we look at the reasons why those decisions were taken and, make sure that there's the change in culture, the change in practice needed to put safety of kids absolutely number one in every single thing that we do. And if you look back, you can go back, and I think Rob reported on this, so you can jump in and tell me if anything I'm saying here is not correct. We had the Manchester report in 2020. It was called a blistering report by the Manchester Evening News at the time. It led Greater Manchester Police to launch something called Operation Green Jacket. It was an entirely new police investigation looking to find if there were perpetrators who were not properly followed up at that time. I don't know, Stephen, how many arrests, charges and convictions we've had under Operation Green Jacket now. It's way into the double figures, I think I'm right in saying. We then had a request from Oldham to add a further stage to the inquiry before the Rochdale report, because there were rumours circulating in Oldham around this issue and some of the things that have been done or not done and not followed up, and things the council had not followed up. And I received a request to initiate an Oldham inquiry, but it came through a different route because the wider thing was already ongoing. But I accepted that request. I agreed to it and asked the review team to add it to what they were doing. But it was different. It wasn't a sort of high profile. It was more about things that were being said, rumours that needed to be investigated. So the nature of the Oldham inquiry was different. But nevertheless, that review team did it. The review team that created a report that was called Blistering by the Manchester Evening News, and would later look at Rochdale after Oldham. And similarly, the chief was there, Kate was there, I was there. I think you may have been reporting, Rob. Again, absolutely, hard-hitting report when that Rochdale report came out. The suggestion then is that we somehow covered up in Oldham. But how? I mean, how would that, if people are putting that allegation at me, well, that is impugning the review team, the people who'd done those other pieces of work. That's saying that they were complicit in, it's an utter nonsense. And there are people online, I don't know, for their own purposes, are kind of circulating stories that are constantly meant to look as though the whole Greater Manchester system. We did the exact opposite. And I can say to you tonight, I had meetings with officers in the GMP at the time, Stephen's predecessor, officers in the councils, where the review team was saying to me sometimes, there's too much resistance, we need to break through this, we need access to X, Y, and Z. And I had those meetings with Kate's predecessor, with Kate as well, as we went through this process. Greater Manchester did not look in the other direction. Greater Manchester was unique in many ways as a city region, not just one little sort of place. As a whole, we looked directly at this issue. We held a complete mirror up to ourselves, and we went through that whole process to the point beyond the Rochdale report when we came to the final stage, which was overseen by His Majesty's Inspectorate of Constabulary. Ofsted were involved because of the Children's Services side of things, the CQC from the Sexual Health Services side of things. We were found that we were fit for purpose because we'd made all of those changes that we needed to make sure the culture was right. And I'm glad you finished on this question, genuinely, because I see the stuff online and it's designed to go back to where we started. It's actually designed to create hate, and they're trying to pull everyone apart. Oh yeah, and that's what it's doing. And I'm really glad I've got the opportunity to say 100%, we have never done what they accuse us of doing. And I was one of the first this time last year to call for a national inquiry. And the reason I did that was because I recognise, although I'm saying to you, we did a powerful voluntary review, I recognise there were limitations to that process because it did not have the power to compel people to give evidence. Because an inquiry at this level can't do that. We don't have those statutory powers. And if you read the reports that I've mentioned, all of them, you will find references in those reports to saying ex-officer of the council or ex-police officer retired refused to. We couldn't compel. And I said, this time last year, against what was then my national party's position, no, we need a national inquiry. Because that accountability part of this whole story, we could not achieve through our review. And hence, we felt there needed to be that further accountability process. But I can finish by saying, I am absolutely certain that we have done the exact opposite of what they accused us of. Because in Manchester, we have a new police inquiry called Operation Green Jacket, I mentioned. In Oldham, we have a reopened new police inquiry called Operation Sherwood that has started to bring charges against perpetrators who should have been dealt with before. And the same in Rochdale as well. As a result of the Greater Manchester Review, people have been arrested, charged, convicted, and therefore our communities made safer because we turned towards it. And I say it to you, you've asked a very fair question, and it's a matter of public concern, and therefore it deserves an honest answer in a forum like this. But I 100% will stand by what I've done. I would never turn away in the way some of these people describe. I wouldn't let any consideration of, nothing is more important than the safety of kids to me living in Greater Manchester. And any allegation that I don't take that totally seriously as my top priority is a complete affront as far as I'm concerned. The kind of the way in people just throw that around on social media. Well, I don't do that. I've never done that. I never would do that. And I'm confident now I have a police force here that is absolutely with me at my side, operating in entirely the same way. So thank you for what you've raised, but I hope you'll consider that a very full answer.